I think one of the major issues with discussing one-state solution, beyond the obvious immediate issues, as Dr. Gashar recognized, that there is over the last, 60 years, there's been a culture that's been developed on both sides of viewing the other, as someone else, and I guess in a sense a culture of intolerance has been bred on both sides, and you can't ignore that paradigm, and it is a very significant one, but it's one that I think can change far more easily than the other problem which faces us when we discuss a one-state solution. And I think the bigger problem is one of ideology. And for 30 years you've had the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which has gained support and really reached the point where by the international community at least they were seen as the representatives of the Palestinian people. And on the same side you've had 60 years of Israeli national history, whereby the concept of a Jewish state has been embedded into the modern Jewish mentality. And when you have both sides spending decades upon decades building this concept of the need for statehood, their own statehood, it's very hard to then revert back to a concept which is considered so foreign by most Israelis and Palestinians, that of a one-state solution, which is why I think, as you said in your research, you found people so adverse to the idea of a one-state, despite the fact that there are many, practical ways of implementing it, were it not for the ideological problem. And when you look at the ideological problem, you can see a historical, background to it. Because, for instance, I can't speak with expertise about the Palestinian side, but from the Jewish perspective, there's 2,000 years of history which have brewed this nationalism. You can argue whether it's right or wrong, and you can argue about the religious or secular justifications for it, and I'm not here to pass judgment about whether the concept of Zionism is right or wrong, because I think it's irrelevant. But what is important to recognize is that it is a major factor that plays in the psyche of Israelis, and I know that to discuss a one-state solution, at the moment at least, is very affronting and is very, discomforting for most Israelis. And in that light, I think it's quite unrealistic. Within the concept of a two-state solution, and this is something that I said at the other table, and I do genuinely believe it, within the concept of a two-state solution, there is room, eventually, for that kind of confederation that you speak of, where there is free movement. So I was in Italy 3 weeks ago, and when we crossed the border into Switzerland, we didn't even have to stop the car. You just drive through. And my wish is that one day it will be like that for everybody. I spoke to Rayan, a friend of mine from Ramallah, and he said that he for the last 8 years has not been able to visit Jerusalem, which is a city that he used to visit regularly his entire life. To me, it's atrocious. It's shocking that he can't have free passage into Jerusalem. The same when I hear stories like Dr. Gashar said about how some extremists on the Israeli side have treated him or friends of his. To me, that's heart-wrenching. To me, those kind of people, when they behave like that, I'm ashamed to know that they're the same people that I'm a part of. In the same way that I'm sure Dr. Gashar is ashamed when he sees children of Hamas leaders saying that we should blow up children on buses, or when you see on Fatah television Mickey Mouse promoting suicide bombing. So I think the importance is really to establish a basis, as Gashar said, of tolerance and understanding,